Hey scrappers, it's Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, which means it's our time for our weekly report on YouTube and on Facebook. What are we going to talk about today? Market news, market updates, what you should expect at your scrapyard, and how you can make more money with your scrap. Follow me, let's go talk scrap. Have questions about scrap? Time to ask them now. Let's go. Hey scrappers, Tom from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, September 8th. Just in case you didn't have a phone with you or a calendar or a smartwatch, it is September 8th, so maybe you owe someone money or a happy birthday call. Whatever it is, we hope you're having a great day. So here we are, another week of scrap has passed us. Hope you had a very nice Labor Day weekend. While it didn't bring the best news on a couple of fronts, we did see some nice increases in prices from a lot of the reported prices over the last week. So if you haven't downloaded the new iScrap app, please make sure to download the new iScrap app, which gives you the ability to report your prices, learn about markets, help other scrappers learn about prices. I mean, think about it. Here you are taking a minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes out of your day to listen to me, right? Normally, I need to pay people to listen to me. So the fact that you're doing it means that I'm telling you something that's going to help you. So if I'm telling you something that's going to help, why not give me more tools to continue to help you make more money with your scrap? Whether you're posting those prices or taking pictures of the receipts, super easy to do. So let us know. So here I am, I'm sitting in my conference room. It is, the first week of September, and people are going to say, Tom, what do you think about the markets? Where do you think they're going? We always read your weekly report. So let me give you a roundabout idea, kind of where I think I'm at right now, and where I think we're at right now in the scrap market. We have copper prices that have really been pretty stable for the last 4 or 5 months. I mean, if anyone's going to complain, as my 96-year-old grandmother would say, shame on you, because you have prices that are still super high. Sure, we saw the markets dip down a few weeks ago, then roar right back. Today we saw copper down 6 cents. But if you start to look at 6 cents per pound on a market that's trading at $4.20, you're looking at less than about 1%, right? 1%. So if you're focused on making 1% extra money day over day, then you need to start looking at the bigger picture. Now, 1% over time, of course, adds up. But one of the things that we've really, I'm going to use the word preached over the years is get it in, get it out. We know a lot of you like to save, and that's awesome. But when it comes to bulky items like steel, move that stuff quick. See a lot of posts on one of the Facebook groups talking about people unloading their stash, cleaning out their backyard, borrowing friends' trailers, moving material quick. Well, we saw steel prices drop like 40 to 50 bucks a ton over the last few months. And with those price decreases coming even more, we heard that iron ore prices are dropping even more, which means that steel prices are going to be dropping. And unfortunately, this all falls back to the Chinese having such a strong presence in the commodities market and controlling so many parts of the commodities world. They pump out so much steel, whether it's just raw rebar or finished products like parts of computer frames or chassis or cars, whatever it is. Especially, don't forget, while they export a lot of stuff to the United States, they have well over, I think, like 1.3 or 1.4 billion people there. So they need a lot of stuff for their own country. So they are able to dictate a lot of these market prices. And because they have become a little less reliant on iron ore, we have seen some of those prices slip. But I do think that we're going to really see a nice stable steel market for the rest of the year. And that should be good news. But if you are holding on to stuff, waiting for that big increase again, my opinion, you're wasting your time. Get that cash, get that material, cash it in, use that money to help yourself make more money. Buy a new trailer, buy new tools. These things are going to help you. And if you're looking for new tools, you can, of course, become a Patreon supporter. where we have tool giveaways from DeWalt every single month. So by becoming a supporter, you learn more about the market, tips and tricks even faster than other people will. So, it gives you new tools. It gives you the opportunity to win new tools. And we also have a couple of competitions going on as well through the Facebook group and some different things talking about license plates. We're looking for you to name your favorite scrapping license plate, and whatever one wins is going to win some more cool DeWalt stuff. So copper, relatively stable. Supply and demand is there. We're starting to see material move a little more. Unfortunately, we're just seeing a bit of a stalemate right now, but it's unfortunate because it's not going up, but it's really not going down too bad. So I'm happy with that. The white hot metal that I talked about while I was writing this week's report is aluminum. I mean, I saw an email earlier today with aluminum prices cracking those highs that we saw yesterday, which were 10-year highs. And I know that aluminum is not as sexy as like copper is because of the price per pound. But when I'm starting to see some of these prices coming out through the reported prices, they are 60, 63, between $1 and $1.10, right? And if you're saying to yourself, Tom, I don't see my yard paying that, how do I know if I have 60, 63 aluminum or 60, 61? Well, that's why iScrap's here. You can utilize one of the groups that we create online. You can send us pictures asking questions. Well, you can also use the metal guide. And by using the metal guide that we have both on the app and on the website, it gives you the ability to learn about the markets, learn about 60, 63 versus 60, 61. And we've written lots of blogs about these things. So learning about the metals that you're touching every day, stopping what you're doing. And that's something that I do at Rockaway Recycling. 3-4 times a year, I just evaluate how I'm doing things, the processes, how we're processing material, how we're selling material. And I think it's really smart for you to be able to do that, because if you just get into the same hamster wheel doing the same thing over and over again, you're never going to learn more. But if you're spending a few minutes listening to me here, hopefully you're taking this and saying, yeah, you know what? Why would I not want to better myself? Why would I not want to learn about things where maybe I lose money because it takes me longer to process things today, but in the long term, you make money because you're learning how to process material cleaner, sell it better, learn about yards that might use an XRF analyzer to tell you, yeah, you have 6061 versus 6063 aluminum. Well, what are the differences? You can ask these yards these things. There's also different scrap yards that specialize in non-ferrous versus ferrous, and that's where you can also use the iScrap app to learn about these different yards. Now, we're going to talk about a few other things before this weekly report is over, but first we're going to go into what's in that bucket. Now, this week, like all weeks, we're going to talk about what's in this bucket for 2 minutes. And if you have any ideas or additions to add in there, let us know. Unfortunately, I can't really guess as I kind of see it sticking out. So I'm just going to pull this out, and this is a keyboard. Now, for those of you that have not seen a keyboard like this before, this is an ergonomic keyboard. I actually use one like this because it splits my hands up so they don't hurt as much. But a lot of people ask us how to sell keyboards. And I know the average price reported right now for keyboards is about 3 cents a pound. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why. A lot of plastic on these keyboards. You have plastic in all of the different keys. You have plastic on the backs, and you have all these different spaces. And on top of that, the wireless ones have batteries in them. So if you don't take the batteries out and you sell this to the scrapyard, they need to check every one of these keyboards, because if they throw these alkaline or the new lithium batteries that are coming out, I saw a few of those in my freezer. I think we bought some in my house. If you start to see the lithium batteries, you don't want to just throw these into your regular scrap bin. And if your scrapyard isn't sorting these things, then it's not going to be a really positive thing either. On top of that, where the value is in this board is actually inside. It's a low-grade board that has lots of little buttons where all these different keys are located. There's very little metal on that board. There's going to be a couple of processors, but think about this like a microwave. It has one task to do. Maybe it's a smart keyboard where you can adjust your volume or skip tracks or mute things, something like that. So it has a little bit of a brain to it, but this is kind of like the Tin Man, where it doesn't have a super brain. So you want to look at this and say, these keyboards aren't that great. What you should do with them, ask your local scrapyard what they do, and then you get to go from there. So that's what's in this bucket, and as promised, we talked about it for about 2 minutes. Now we got a couple of questions that I want to get to before I keep blabbering.
Kind of going off of the keyboards,
okay.
With new smart TVs,
yeah.
Are there going to be better circuit boards that are going to be in them because they're more like computers compared to older TVs?
Yes. So a lot of these smart TVs, I mean, think about, let's call it a dumb TV, one that didn't connect to the internet versus a smart TV, one that does connect to the internet. Take the TV behind me, for example. This TV has a lot of different components than the old ones do. It has Wi-Fi capability and access. It has the ability to connect us not only just to a regular cable box, but I can go right to Netflix through here. I can go right to a slew of other apps from here. This TV is almost like having an all-in-one computer. Yes, it doesn't have a keyboard coming with it, but it gives you the access to the internet, which means that circuit board inside has to be much smarter. So if I was going to compare it to something, I'd probably compare it to a mid to low grade board, maybe not a high grade circuit board that has a lot of gold, because this doesn't have as many adapters or connectors. It'll have a couple of ports for USB or HDMI. So there's not going to be as much gold on it. But with this TV behind me, I believe is 65 or 75 inches. It's going to have a much bigger board because it's going to be making sure that the power for the LED is working, that all the smart capabilities work as well. So when you start to strip these down, these boards are worth more money than older TV circuit boards would be. Awesome question. Now, those aluminum prices, really, really strong. Steel prices, relatively stable. We did hear about a decrease of 30 to 40 bucks a ton this month, which has not happened yet. Minor decreases by a few dollars, but nothing major right now, and that's good news. On the catalytic converter side of things, we have started to hear about a weakening market and some prices. Example, a General Silverado cat with a serial number 253-19109 at the peak back in April, May, June, we were seeing people selling those to RR cats for between 160 to 180 bucks each. Today, that price is all the way down to between 100 and 115 for the same cat, just showing you what a decrease we've seen in the metal prices. Starts with rhodium dropping 50%. Platinum really has been relatively stable. It's about 5% below the 30-day rolling average that we have. So those markets are down. And palladium's down about 7 to 8% on a rolling 30-day average as well. So those prices, while they've declined, they have kind of stabilized, but we have heard some rumblings. And I was reading some articles yesterday about rhodium, and rhodium is so expensive at one point, almost $30,000 an ounce this year. And because it's almost primarily used, like 95% of all rhodium is used in catalytic converters. That's going to have a real big bearing if you see a bit of a decrease in demand. And one of the reasons you could is because the microprocessors and all these semiconductor chips aren't getting to the cars fast enough, which means that a lot of the refined rhodium is all ready to be put into catalytic converters, put onto cars and onto the road, but those cars are being stuck in parking lots. I heard about Ford renting out a raceway to put their incomplete cars that they can't finish on just while they wait for parts. We have a question?
We have a question from Dennis.
Hey, Dennis.
He said, are extruded heat sinks from computer boards 6063 or 6061, of course, clean?
Generally, Dennis, those are 6061, rarely 6063. And if you look at a really cool picture that Virginia posted yesterday online, we saw how they made heat sinks, and it was copper ones, so you might want to check that out. Generally, though, they're 6061, not 6063. Thank you. Don't forget, with those heat sinks, many of the heat sinks actually have thin copper backs on them, so watch out for that. You might be able to figure out how to separate them and make a couple of extra dollars. Another question.
Kelly is just thanking our iScrap team here for helping him earlier adding a yard. So just a quick reminder if you need a yard added.
Yeah, if your scrap yard isn't listed on there, or the phone number's wrong, or the address is off, or they closed, let us know, and you're welcome, Kelly. Let us know so we can add those yards in there, and it's really easy to do. You can actually report that right through the app itself, and through the app, you can get quotes on catalytic inverters, learn about prices of over 200 different scrap metals, learn about the market, see some of our previous videos. And we have a couple of short clips that we post right on the app when you open it, where it's just me reacting to some market news that's out there and different articles to give you a better idea in a 1 to 2 minute glimpse. Another question.
We have a question from Thad.
Hey, Thad.
What are the average of car batteries per pound?
So average car battery price right now is like 22 cents. I briefly talked about the car batteries in this week's report, and the market hasn't really grown. It hasn't really gone down, which is good. And one of the reasons is lead just hasn't been as popular or as heavily used in the last few years. One of the reasons is, of course, the EV push doesn't use as much lead. I was talking to a battery buyer who was talking about batteries in EVs, talking about certain electric vehicles actually using a small lead acid battery just to be able to kind of start the car and get it started. Then it charges itself from there. So while there are uses for lead, it's not nearly what it used to be in the 1990s and early 2000s. Another question.
We have a question from Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Just wondering what a cat might fetch for a foreign Hyundai.
Oh,
Thank you.
Brian, you'd have to email or text the team at rrcats.com. Those Hyundais have codes on them generally. It could be JSH42 or TSH31. BD is another code that's on there. So by getting that 2 to 6 or 7 digit code sent over to the team at RRCats, you can do it right through the iScrap app itself. That gives you the ability to get the prices. I don't have every single cat memorized with tens of thousands of different codes out there. Now, scrappers, today is September 8th, and don't forget, we always try to do these reports every week. If you have questions for us, if you comment on these things afterwards, and we don't reply to you, we are sorry. We have a lot of videos. We try to get to everyone. So if you reply or email us through the website, we'll always try to address your problems, your questions, so we can help you make more money with your scrap, make more money by learning about the markets. And it just gives you the ability through the newest version of the iScrap app behind me to learn about where the 30-day rolling averages are, what today's prices are on over 200 metals. Are the markets up? Are the markets down? You can also sign up for news alerts and emails. And if you're looking to get even more information, you could always become a Patreon supporter today. Now, scrappers, this is Tom from the iScrap app. I thank you for coming and listening to me talk for a few minutes. I'd love to hear your ideas, your thoughts, your questions. That's how we can get better to help you get better at the same time. Until next week, I'll scrap you later.